Hey, welcome everybody. Nice to see you. Welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Michael Gumberg. I'm part of the Adobe Video ecosystem team, and I'm being proud to be a host today. So I'm joined by some very amazing people. Karina, seeing you, very lovely. Hello. And also Markus, a good old friend from Cologne. I'm broadcasting from Munich. And Markus, where are you from?
I'm currently in Cologne, so
Okay.
I love the idea of making like remote workflows over some continents. So that's amazing.
Good. And Karina, where are you from?
I'm tuning in from Georgia, the state, not the country. So we're global here. I'm super, super excited for today.
Cool. So yeah, jump right into the topic. So we're talking about sports event today, very engaging sports event. And if we ever wonder how the jaw-dropping sports emotionally video clips are coming together, we have some nice people talking about this today. So we will break down the processes and also the technology that is used in this event. And also we're sharing some tips and tricks and also tools that will help you to build your own engaging sports content. So yeah, let's start. But before we start, let's have a look to the chat a little bit and say hello, everyone. I can see Alex, hi, and also Wade, great to see you. Roland, nice to see you. Yeah, so let's start it. Markus, so we've known each other for quite a while. I can't actually remember. It's about almost 10 years, maybe. And we did work together supporting some of our technology partners, producing the biggest sports event. I think the first event that we jointly did was Rio, some bigger soccer event.
For me, the first one was Paris
Oh,
2016.
okay. Yeah,
It was,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So just to give you some context, Markus is post-production supervisor for this big sports event. And I can't hear what Markus can share and tell us about how this event's coming together. Yeah, over to Markus. Maybe you can also add some more context and doing a short introduction, and then we can go.
So it's a great pleasure for everyone. Thank you for having me here. So I'm just sharing real we've done here because we are framefloor here, doing post-production and compositing, animation, all those. So we are actually working on post-production, compositing, and animation, 2D, 3D animation. And then, because I'm doing this every day in everyday life, I was asked to support the post-production team on the events like Euro, Olympic Games, and so on and so on. And so I'm working with Creative Cloud for more than 20 years. It wasn't Creative Cloud by then, but it was After Effects, Premiere, it was Speedgrade, all the way around. It was Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and it was amazing to see the workflows, to see how you can grab a Photoshop file, put it in After Effects, grab Illustrator vectors, scale it, and then do some animation with it. And then, for example, come into Cinema 4D, grab a Cinema 4D project into your After Effects, interact with the camera, interact with all the effects, and then create some wonderful things. And this is what comes very handy in all the events, because whenever there is a need, a quick need of a project, of there is an idea, how can we do this? You can really rely on all the Creative Cloud and all the applications, and then create amazing things, just using the effects, using the workflows, using the great minds and great ideas of the brains, and of course the creative people. So this is what I'm doing on a daily basis.
Cool. So let's jump into screen sharing, Markus, or?
So it was already screen sharing.
Ah, okay.
we did
Of course.
it already. So shall I just carry on?
Yes, please.
Okay, that's great. So it was a great idea to be a part of a let's say a post-production team, let's say Euro or World Cup or so on. But how does it work? How can we get a live feed from an event and put it into the system. So there are several companies, great companies, working on the events. And so there is EVS, who, for example, captures all the live streams. As you can see, for example, here on my screen, there is EVS, IPD, and you can see several cameras, which I can record by just a click of a button. I say, like, for example, I want to have a Cam 6, and I want to have a Cam 6 and a Cam 5, let's say, to 2 records. And I'm just recording the volley ball, and I want to do it, let's do it for some minutes. So for example, 2 minutes, and ingest it to a special XT. So this is done directly onto the system, so I can create the recording. The recording is done, as you can see here, directly, and I can put other recordings for later, all the cameras then here. And then it gets into the cloud. The cloud is called LucidLink. So it's, as you can see, it's a volume. So I don't have to grab it down. I don't have to download the files, because the files are already there in my system. So I can grab a so-called growing file on this one. And this system is quite smart, because this system, you don't have to download the files. It's just grabbing the part of the clip you want to have. So this is LucidLink, and all around is combined, all the technology is combined by a company called MoveIT, which introduced a Helmut system on this. So Helmut is, in this case, it's a cloud database where I have all my projects. So wherever I am around the globe, I can log into my Helmut. I can see my projects I'm working on, me or the other ones. So here we have Klaus, we have Ben, we have somebody else, and they can work on those systems, and they can work on the projects, in this case, Premiere projects. And I can open a Premiere project as I've done already. And this is the Premiere project where my clips are ingested. You can see this volley clip. So I just double clicking on the volley clip. It's importing the volley clip into my Premiere project, and I can work on this one already while it's ingested into the system. So I can take some parts. For example, first let's do some interaction. Let's see what's going on here. For example, this player just scored a point, so let's take this one, and I can put it into my timeline. I already created a short edit in this case, but I can grab it into my timeline. So I have here my timeline, and I can go to the next one, and this clip is a growing file. So it's growing and growing and growing, so I don't have to refresh, I don't have to do anything. And this serve, for example, here, I can see, so this is quite long. So let's go to this one, go here, they are playing a set, and then I can put it into my timeline, go to the next one. And because in the background, everything is refreshing, so I can still go and go back, see if there is another one, and there's another option. Then they clapped here, for example. So I can do an in and I can do an out and put it down again and go again. For example, there's a nice view here, detail, I can own this one. So everything is, as you can see, in real time. So I don't have to worry about any options. I think it was a low res option. That's why I can set it up. I can switch, for example, to high res in this case. And you see it's, although it's playing from the cloud, it's going from the cloud here, it's really perfectly smooth on my system here. And to be honest, I'm working on a laptop. So it's not a huge workhorse, it's just a laptop. So I can set this here, and I can go back to the other, for example, clips I already edited in the afternoon. For example, here, a cheering. Also very nice when you have, for example, a coach going in, and also signs like this, which is like secret signs, how to serve, how to do, which is also very interesting for the spectators. So this is the live production. I can also go, for example, and use other projects to get in. For example, I can use Helmut Cosmo in this case, so I can go into other projects.
Markus, could I just ask a question? Very
Yes.
short, just to make sure we're understanding this. So there's a signal which is generated. We're simulating this in a moment. There's a game happening, a volleyball game, and this is, for example, I think the servers were in Belgium in the moment.
This is a Belgium system, yes.
Okay,
yes.
So there's a volleyball game that we faking, to be honest. So we have a signal which is generating how many streams? About, can we see it like it's like 8 screens, 8 cameras?
So there's 8 cameras going now. Yeah.
Okay. So there are 8 cameras recording.
Which one I want to record? Yeah.
Yeah, into a single server. You can access the server from Cologne, and then recording into a cloud space, which is called LucidLink.
Correct.
And the game is still going on, and we're still recording everything. So the file, and that's why it's called growing, is expanding all the time. So every single second a new frame is written, it will also be updating the file.
Yeah, it's updating the file, and this is a so-called growing file.
Yeah.
So of course there are clips sometimes which are recorded and just using their static, but here in this one, it's a growing file, so I can choose another camera, a live camera, and say this camera should be recording for another hour or for 15 minutes.
Okay.
I can pick a different name. I can say some keywords. For example, I can select a clip type and so on, and then send it to my XT, which is then transferring the clip to the LucidLink. And this can be accessed by anyone who has also the rights, of course. We need the login credentials, VPN connection, but then it could be you in Munich, or it could be in Karina in Georgia, and it could be me.
Okay, so actually what this workflow allows that anyone worldwide could participate in editing a sports event wherever it's happening. So you don't need to fly in all the people. You don't need to bring all the people to the venues.
Correct.
Okay. So the next question that I have, is this like a standard setup in your opinion, like EBS and Move It and LucidLink?
This is so EVS and Move IT is like a really standard setup. So we are working in every broadcast center in this case like this, and we've been working on several events already with LucidLink. So we could, for example, some editors were in Switzerland, in Germany, but we were working in England. So we could send them the footage straight, and they were starting to edit. And this is amazing because it's like without any loss, without any problems, they can grab it and start editing.
Okay. And as you just said, so the broadcast center is where all the signals coming in for the different games into a single destination, and from there getting distributed. That's why it's called broadcast center or international broadcast center.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Usually many editors. So we had big events with over 100 edit stations. So we were working on Premiere, After Effects, and so on. So everything needed to run smoothly, of course. All the servers, all the systems, and of course all the ENG crews. The ENG crews are sending data into the broadcast center. They are doing interviews. They are doing team arrivals. They are doing training, warm-ups, and so on. And all the data is just straight coming in. So the editors are just on the really hot wire and editing it. Okay.
Okay. So the task really from this technology and the process is get the editors, the creative heroes, as I like to call them. They need to focus on content creation out of the technology so they can focus on doing editing, that's what they should do.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So they don't have to think about technology. They don't have to think, how do I get the clip? How do I create something? How do I download it, upload it? Do I have to log in somewhere? No, it's just there where they need it. They can use the import button to import it, or they can use, of course, the IP link importer, which we are giving them it's done by EVS.
Yeah.
And then they can get the data, or even for example, when we're using Cosmo, they can grab it from a different project. They can go into different projects, get it, give it to somebody, so the exchange is really smooth and fast.
Okay. And last question, when we're talking about, I mean, I can imagine for sports, there's a lot of pressure on the creative producing content. So how does this feel? Is this positive? Is this negative? Are you want to jump out of the window? Or?
It feels very comfortable. I mean, I've been to the event since 2016, so we had different systems on those events, and everything is improving more and more. And of course, we listen as a post-production support. We listen to the users. We're talking to them constantly. And also we are talking with Adobe to them, and all the features are aligned with the needs of the users. So whenever there is a idea, could we change something? Could we change something in the timeline? Could we change something in the layout? Could we change something with the ingest of the material? Let's just do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you for clarifying. I just want to make sure that we understand this correctly. Right. Okay.
Very good.
Back to you, Markus.
Yes. So, for example, when we need some graphics, because we've done some rough edits, but in those cases we need also some graphics. So I usually you have the motion graphic templates, for example, which you perhaps know. So I created the motion graphic template for my football edit. I want to show you later, but this one, for example, it's a very small one, but in this case, perhaps I push it here to the side and make a little bit make it a little bit bigger. So like this. And this one is a motion graphic template created in After Effects. Perhaps you heard that After Effects is also able to import 3D objects. So I imported this OBJ in this case there, and then I can change it to, let's say, first half, and I can change this one to 4:1. And what I can even do, I can change the logos. So when I just go to my sports, to my logos, and then I can drag and drop it here and change this logo to this one and this logo to this one, and bam, it changes automatically. The animation is still there, and everything is done. So this is what you can do, let's say, at home with your with After Effects. We use in this case a system called Vulcano. So Vulcano is a system which is based on motion graphic templates, but it's much faster because it's server based. So, for example, I can change also, let's say, to Markus, and we can change the positions, we can change the sizes, we can change everyone, and then we can preview this video, and it instantly updates. In this case, it's scheduled, so it updates it, and I can push it to my project. So when I put it here to the project, I can just say, yeah, let's create this one. It's created in the background, so that the user doesn't need to do it. It's the producer who does it. The producer has got a laptop next to him. He knows what's the names. He has the names. He has the description, subtexts, all those, and then he does it, pushes it into the project. Editor can still edit, work on his edit, and in few seconds it's here in my project. Bam, it's done, and then Markus is there, and I can see the in this case the lower third, and it's way faster. I can just show it to you so that we can see here. It's Markus in this case, and this is what it's all about. It's about workflows. It's about making the experience nicer, better, and more easy living. Let's say like this. So this is this is, in this case, the first thing what I wanted to show you. The other one is a little bit more the storytelling option, what we've been talking about. So usually when we are in filming something, it's interesting how you can tell a story and how you can improve your story by using different, for example, recordings. Of course, you are not always in the I want to make this bigger a little bit. Let me just make it full frame. Okay. You cannot be in a big arena, but we can start with something really slow. And what I got here is just some recordings I've done before in the events, on the matches, during some access days. Usually Premiere gives you this view where you can see everything. This is a really nice view I like, but I prefer this one. Why? Because in this one, you can sort your footage and you can make groups. For example, you can say, oh, this is nice, this is on the arrival. This here, these are some details I recorded, for example, some screens or some seats or some logos. And I have a view on the let's say outside of the arena, which I can see, and some details here and some sunset and whatever. So some fans in here, some details of a warm-up, perhaps a setting on this one. And then you can create your storytelling in this view and then start editing and say like, okay, let's start, for example, on those ones. So I can create a new sequence from the clip. When I go back to my sequence, you see, that's already there. That's the clip. And then I can see, for example, we're driving, for example, in a car, and then I press Q to shorten this clip. So make this clip a little bit. And then, of course, let's say something on the road. Okay, let's go here to shorten this one. Then we are nearly arriving, let's say this one. And then for example, when you record something, it's always nice to find some details, something unsharp, but also some nice, for example, here I recorded because I found it very nice because the sun is going into the car. So I can also get this one into it, into the field. And then we arriving somewhere. And then also some feet. And this one is, I found it quite interesting because we can mix the feet with the car. Let's do this one, for example. But the car is going from one way and the feet are going from the other way. So that's a perfect option for, of course, for the effects. Let's flip this one, horizontal flip. So the car is going from this side and then we've got the feet going on this side. This one is quite big, so I can also change it. And then we can also do like a transition. Let's say just a normal default transition, a little bit longer, so that we create like a story of arrivals, going from the outside to the inside of the stadium and so on. Also, when we're going into, for example, here, I just make it a little bit bigger and start explaining what I want to do here. For example, when we have some match stadiums, so-called GVs, generic views, we can do some flags. Also, for example, things like this, where we can see some birds flying, some details on those, because it makes it a little bit mysterious what will happen during the match. What can we see? If the sun is coming, it's also quite sun, or the lights are coming is also like something nice here. And for example, also playing with shadows. It's also quite nice to play with shadows, to record some people walking. You don't have to show the faces, of course, because you have to think about the personal rights. But in this case, it makes it a little bit more interesting, so that we can put this then for example, in our edit and go from one to the other one, and then show some scenes from the outside, some scenes from the arena. Also something from the warm-up when we want to show some feet, also how to fit some, here I have got this one, filming against, for example, the sun. So usually we were told not to film against the sun because, you know, you don't see anything because of the lenses of so on. But this makes also the picture quite interesting because you have just the shadow of the person, and then when you find the blurry foreground or the background, this makes it more interesting and more appealing to what will happen then. Also during the match, if you think about some details, for example, there are a lot of lenses usually, so you can go from the front to the back with the lenses, and then make some sort of depth of field in this case. Also on the smartphones, there's also a cinematic mode. A lot of times you can use the cinematic mode and change the depth of field during the filming. So there's a lot of things you can really feel. Also inside, if you have a wide lens, and many of those, for example, smartphones have got wide lenses, so that you can use those wide lenses to capture some nice view of the stadium or of the field. For example, it's really wide in this case, and not only details but also something to see. And of course, when you enter something, it's always nice to have something in German, herzlich willkommen, so welcome. So people are, for example, coming in. I can drag and drop it here so that, for example, when people are going, you can really put them, then follow them into the stadium and see something then inside. Things like this, for example, what I have here in this edit is also quite nice. For example, of course, fans, but also flags and lights. And for example, here, before going to the pitch, you can use a clip like this. A clip like this, usually all my professors told me, you cannot see anything, just get rid of it. But for example, some movements, swishes. So from this movement, from this moving flag, then moving along and then moving into this movement, it makes it more exciting. You see, it's a short little clip. It's nothing to talk about. But because this person here in the next clip is going to the left, and this clip is moving also in this direction, so it makes it meld together. So in this case, it's quite nice to experiment with those, with things like this, and to put it into and make it like, why not? Let's just see something. Let's just use something. For example, here when we get those here and we have the flares in front of it, why not make the picture look interesting, make the picture look exciting. And here, for example, also the lights, and then there is something in front coming. So that makes an edit more livable, more interesting, and just exciting.
Cool. Thank you, Markus. I learned a lot.
Oh, good.
So movement adds excitement. So that's great to learn for me. Let's hand the microphone over to Karina. So maybe you saw her face before. She was on stage on Adobe Max, I think it was 2022, Showcase Premiere Pro. And she's an award-winning editor. And she's working in the strategic development team for focusing a lot on sports. But Karina, maybe, just share a little bit about yourself, and then I'm sure you got some amazing tips and tricks.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome, Markus. And your comment about using that small piece of movement it's an amazing tip. So for those of you listening, he's not lying. There's always something in the footage, whether you first realize it or not. But so excited for this conversation. As Michael mentioned, before joining Adobe, I spent a long time working as a video editor. And so I'm really excited to share some of my tried and true tips and tricks within Premiere Pro. And so hopefully build off of what Markus showed in terms of telling that story. So we're going to jump right into Premiere Pro. And one of the things that is one of my favorite features is something called text-based editing. So let's take a step back. What is text-based editing? Well, if you've ever edited a text document, you can text-based edit in Premiere Pro. Now, for those who might not be familiar or who've never tried this before, I recommend going to your workspace, so Window, Workspaces, and then jumping to this text-based editing workspace. So here you'll be able to see your text panel with all this nice text. The other tip I have for those who might be new is definitely set your preferences before you set your project. So in this case, I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to go to Settings, Transcription. If you're on a PC, you can click Edit Preferences. And here it'll give me this window for my transcription preferences. In this case, I have the box checked for automatically transcribe clips. So I can tell Premiere Pro, hey, I want to auto-transcribe any imported clips or just the clips in my sequence. For now, I'll leave it as is. And I can also set it for separate speakers or not, right? Because with interviews, you might have 2 or 3 speakers. Maybe there's a producer speaking. In my case, I want to separate the speakers. And you can also check this box, which will enable auto language detection. So here I have it set to default for English, but there's so many other languages: Spanish, German, French, Japanese, Portuguese. You get the drill. And oh, by the way, if you forget to do that, it's also upon import here on the right-hand side. Same kinds of questions, just toggle that automatic transcription button. But let's get into it. I want to start editing based off the text. So what does that mean? What does that entail? So right now I've got this interview and I'm just going to start scrubbing on my timeline, and watch as I scrub. It is a reflection of the transcription, right? So as I'm scrolling, so is my text. So I've got this nice view. I can change the font size, make it really small, make it really big. In this case, I like the text nice and big. And here I can start jumping to the different parts of my interview. And the same thing is true if I jump up to the text, watch my timeline. Now my timeline cursor jumped to the beginning of the interview. If I want to go to the end, it jumps. So the reason why it's connected is because I have this little box at the bottom called Follow Active Monitor. We'll get to that in a second, but you're going to transcribe your source media. So that's any clips that come in, but you're also going to get a transcription of your sequence, which I'll get to in a second. So let's say I've got this interview here of this track athlete, right? And she is a track athlete. So I want to start building this edit. She mentioned the word track a few times, so I'm going to search that here. And now Premiere shows me that there are 4 times where she said the word track. So I can jump and quickly find all the times where she said it. So I'm actually going to jump upwards. And she says here, track became a serious sport for me when I ended up going to college for it. And I realized I was a big fish in a pond with even bigger sharks. So let's say I like that soundbite, or let's say I don't like this, the rest of this here, and I wanted to cut it. As I highlight, it also set an in and out point at the exact text that I highlighted. So if I press delete, watch the timeline, there it adds the cut, and now that text is gone. So this is how easy text-based editing is. All you have to do is simply highlight You can delete. All the shortcuts you're familiar, copy and paste work just great. But let's actually build an edit. So I'm going to take this interview here. And I know she said her name at the beginning of one of the interviews. So here it is. She says, my name is Journey Wu and I'm a sprinter. And I'm just going to take that and the shortcut comma key, I added it to my timeline. And now I want to search for, she mentioned earlier when I read through that her mom kind of helped her find track as a sport. So I found mom, there's 2 results there. She said, I actually didn't know I wanted to do track and field. I wanted to be, it looks like she says psycho, but I don't think that's what she said. So we can edit that out in a second. She said she wanted to be a soccer star and her mom ended up tricking her into doing track and field so she could get a scholarship. It's pretty funny. So for now, I'm going to add that to my edit and just highlight that section, add the comma, and now I'm building it. So now you can see I'm starting to build my edit, right? But as I click on my timeline, now I jump to my sequence transcription. So before, if I click here in the source, I have my source. That's my media. That's my clip transcription. But as soon as I jump to the timeline, because I have follow active monitor on, it takes me to my sequence transcription. Now, the other really cool part about text-based editing is if I click down here, I can click transcript view options and I can show all the filler words. So words like or low confidence words, or even pauses. So in this case, I can decide how long or short I want the pauses to be for Premiere to show me. So I'll stick with this for now and click save. So now if I click the source, you'll see that there's all of these 3 dots or these ellipses. And if I hover over now, it shows me all of the times and how long the pauses are, which is amazing. Those of you who edit interviews and you have a lot of people that say or you get where I'm going with this. So I'm actually going to go back to my sequence. Here it shows that there's a pause for 0.6 seconds. So I'm actually just going to highlight that little section, press delete, no magic. Again, there's another one here, 0.6 seconds, delete. You get the idea. So now I have a nice clean edit. But let's go back to that source. Let's say I wanted to delete all of the pauses on this interview, right? So let's say here's 0.5 seconds, 0.3, 1.4. I'm going to click here. And actually, let me go back over here. If I want to, you can batch delete all of these. And I can also edit the text at any point. So with text-based editing, right, in this case, it actually got her name because she has a very unique spelling for her name. And it said Jenny, but her name is spelled actually Jurnnnee. So I can change that and everything is fully customizable, right? So that's text-based editing in a nutshell, right? You can batch delete pauses, you can quickly copy and paste. So let's say if I want to move, her name, her intro at the end, I'll just do a copy or a cut, the shortcut for cut, which is Command X, and then paste it and add it to the bottom, right? Now I have a really dynamic transcription that I can work with. And at any point I can change it back. All I do is a simple undo. And there's back to the beginning. So that's text-based editing in a nutshell. The other bonus about text-based editing is if you want, you can export transcripts as a text file or a CSV. So if you're sharing this or working with a producer, it makes your life really easy and simple. So that's text-based editing in a nutshell.
Karina, there was a question in the chat. Will searching for track display also tracked as a result?
Say that again?
Will searching for track also display tracked as a result?
Got it. Yeah. So you'll want to make sure that whatever word you're searching for is spelled correctly, right? So in this instance, TRACK, it shows me 4 results. But if I just do TRA, right? I'm just trying to find words that start with that, for example. Now I see that there's 9 results. So in this case, there's training, right? If I jump down, it'll show me trainer, trainers, right? You get the
makes
idea.
sense.
So it's really nice. And text-based editing in the example I gave is to build a rough cut really quickly. But we found that a lot of users are finding it to maybe find a naughty word, right? Something that you don't want in your final edit, or you're just trying to quickly find, like you could have some funny sports clips. Let's say, there's 3 athlete interviews and all of them said something really repetitive. Let's say the word was candy. You can quickly search candy. And in this instance, I don't think she said that during the interview, but then build your edit there. And then there's all these fun ways that you can use text-based editing. So that's a great question in the chat. Thank you for that. So now that I've built an interview, right, let's move on to the next step of the workflow. A lot of times now, sports content or any editing content is going to live on social media, maybe on a broadcast, multiple platforms. So I want to add the text to it. I want to add captions. So in this case, I'm still in my text panel. But in this sequence, it sees that I have all of my text here. So I'll just kind of play through so y'all can hear.
I think it takes a lot of encouragement and discipline. You can't put
right. So it's a VO. It's your typical, got some nice music underneath and her audio, but I want to add captions to it. Well, I just need to jump over to this captions panel here and create the captions from my transcript, which is this guy. And here, I'm just going to click those buttons. Here, I can change my caption preferences, right? I can set the minimum duration of seconds I want these captions to be up, how many characters I want at a time, set the lines if I want single or double. In this case, she said pretty basic sentences based on how I edited it. So I'm going to click single. And here it creates captions in literally, that wasn't even a second. Boom. Now I've got these captions here and it's so nice and easy to work with. And oh, by the way, if I don't want this white and, it's got like some black outline text, I can customize that. So I can jump into my essential graphics panel. And here I can change the text. Let's see. Let's go. I can change the text. Maybe I want to change it to Adobe Clean, make it bold. Let's say I want to make it yellow to make it pop. Maybe you have some branded captions that work your way. So you can fully customize these. And then, you can even change the zone, right? Let's say I want the text to drive some of this a little bit more. And maybe I want to, size it up a little bit, right? Or I want to just put it up here, right? There's so many different ways you can customize it exactly how you want the text. And then you can save it as a track style. So I actually had saved this yellow ticker captions before. I'm going to move it down and it applies it to all of the text. So track styles are your friend. Definitely encourage you to play around with them. Make your own customized captions because all the content that we're building, so many things to do, so many places that this content lives. Track styles and captions and speech to text are going to make your life so much easier. I'll pause there. Are there any other questions in the chat, Michael?
Not yet. There's
Okay.
only one comment about naughty words, but that was coming naturally from your demo.
Totally. That there's a lot of ways to use text-based editing. That's one of many. But the other thing I want to showcase is something called the Remix tool. This is huge in sports workflows, and forget sports workflows, any editing workflows. Let's say I have a track, in this case, that is 1 minute and 49 seconds, but my edit is 25 seconds. I need to match that timing, right? I don't want to just cut off my music here. So I'm going to use something called the Remix tool by clicking this little music note. And here I got this song from Adobe Stock. So I'm just going to click and drag it. And you'll see, I'm going to make my timeline bigger here. You'll see that Premiere Pro is analyzing the clip in the background, and it added these cuts shown by these wiggly lines. So now I have an edit that fits much better on the timing that I have. Now I can mess around with it. If I don't like that version, I can redo it at any time. But Remix saves me so much time. Look at that. It was just a click and drag, and now I have a new track, and it's timed. I don't have to listen and go back and forth. Let's take a listen to the beginning and see how it sounds.
I think it takes a lot of encouragement and discipline. You can't put too much pressure on yourself.
So those cuts were actually really seamless. It worked out beautifully. And I also noticed, I'm gonna change this because it's gonna bother me. This is the edit, the perfectionist in me. Want to make sure that this aligns with everybody else. So everything's centered there. But that's the Remix tool. You can, within just a few clicks, shorten your audio, your music track to the exact length that you need. And oh, by the way, if you don't want to do the click and drag option like I did, if I go back to Essential Sound, I can also enter the target duration. So if I know I have a track that's a 30-second commercial and I want it to be, at that 30-second mark, or even a 60-second spot. Let's say I'm going to be adding on and building this edit and finding another longer piece. Now I've got that 60 spot to work with. And just like you can remix a song, you can also stretch out a song. So that's really useful if you've got, maybe there's something that's going to be on repeat for an hour and you need to build a display for something with some music. That's a really useful tool. So that's Remix in Premiere Pro, does the magic for you. One of my favorite features. Now, the last tip that I want to share with y'all is something called Auto-reframe. So I have this similar edit as before. For now, I don't have the captions because I'm, in progress, let's say. And I added this nice graphic on the back end. Now, I mentioned a lot of times our content now lives in multiple places. It might live on a broadcast in 16:9. It might also live on social media as a 9:16 file. So I want to reframe this entire sequence, and I want to do it quickly because I'm on deadline. So I'm going to go up to my sequences here, and I've got auto reframe. I'm going to right click it and click auto reframe sequence. And Premiere gives me these target aspect ratios, but I can also have my own custom ones. But these are the familiar ones that you might find on Instagram, TikTok, what have you. In this case, I want to take my 16:9 video and make it vertical. So I'm going to click that. Based on your content, you also have the option to set your motion tracking, whether you want it to be faster, slower, or default. In this case, I'm going to keep it to default. And I also have the option to nest the clips if I'd like. I'm not going to do that in this instance, but I'm going to click Create, and Premiere Pro is going to auto reframe, and here you see it, and create a new sequence for me with the new format, right? So now I have this 9:16 version. I'm just going to scrub through, and I can fully customize and edit, right? So in this instance, we've got this really nice tight shot of her eye. If I want to adjust that, I can still make adjustments in my effects controls. By here, I see my auto reframe has been applied to the entire sequence. And here, if I want to scale it up, or if I want to offset it ever so slightly, right? I want to showcase maybe a little more of her nose for whatever reason, I can still customize it. But auto reframe recognizes the movement and does a really nice job of centering the whatever is happening in the shot. So this is all great. And let's take a look at how it did on the Mogurt. This is a motion graphics template, but if I want to scale it down ever so slightly, in this case, I want it to still be even with that focal point of the locker room here. That does a really nice job there too. Now, if I go to my project window, you'll see that it put an auto reframe sequence folder for me. So if I want to auto reframe this here, and I want to, let's say, make this a 4:5 version, it'll create that there. And there you see it created another one here. And there's my 4:5, quickly ready for me to go. This is a lifesaver. Now, the last thing, when you finish your project, right, there's so many different ways to share. whether you're in Premiere Pro or After Effects and you want to share it through Frame.io with a producer, you can share it directly here. You can upload your sequence right into Frame and share it with folks that you need to share it with, or somebody, let's say a cousin or a family member that you want to share the link with. You can do that right here from Premiere Pro. Or if I want to go ahead and export, let's say, and let me go back to that. I want to go back to the 9:16 version. Let's see, go here. And I want to go back. There it is. Let's say I want to send this version straight to TikTok. I can export this, toggle on that TikTok option, and let's see, turn this off. Oops, there we go. There we go. And I'm signed in. So now I can publish directly from Premiere Pro straight to TikTok as a post or a draft. In this case, I'm a little paranoid and like to triple check everything. So I'm going to click draft. But if I clicked post, I can also put the caption, right? Check out my latest video, edit, hashtag Adobe Premiere Pro, and export, and all my content gets sent straight to TikTok. So those are some of my tried and true favorite features in Premiere Pro. They are so helpful for your editing workflows from end to end. I hope you check them out. And if you check them out, check out text-based editing, because that one's my secret favorite.
I think it's everyone's secret.
It is.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you, Karina. There were some questions left in the chat, if you're okay that we looking over them.
Yeah,
So
of course.
One was when you are doing auto-reframe by HD 1080 file, that it's ending up that you have a 804 by 804 sequence. Do you have any insights, or should we look it up with some engineers?
Yeah, so what Auto-reframe does is it resizes your sequence, right? So in the examples that I gave, I have, let's go to my original interview here. So my sequence settings in this instance are 1920 by 1080, right? So this is your standard kind of 16 by 9. If I go to my 9:16 and check my sequence settings, in this case, the frame size changes, right? Because it's 607 by 1080, right? So it's dependent on your output, and that's always something as an editor you should know exactly where your video is going to be living before you start a project. And if you don't, I highly recommend you give yourself a pause, not create yourself some more work. But so that's what it does. You want to make sure you know exactly where your content is going. In this case, I might know that this is going straight to TikTok or as an Instagram story. So it needs to be that 9:16 size.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. So Karina, just to wrap up a little bit, I mean, you already said, check out text-based editing, and maybe we forgot to mention it, check out text-based editing. But for me, I'm always super fascinated about the time save that you have with Remix. That's like the hidden gem that if you don't know it, learn it and test it, because that's awesome. Markus, on your side, what would you like the audience to take with from what you shared? For me personally, finding motion clips, a lot of motion, and then combining them, because motion are really driving emotion. Does it make sense in English? Motion driving emotion? Yeah. Okay, then I'm fine. That's for me. Anything else you want to add, Markus? Are you in mute, by the way?
I was muted because I was listening to the Karina very focused. So yeah, for me, it's all the workflow, all the the Adobe family, the Creative Cloud family, which is expanding and giving us more and more options in our daily projects. And this is what I love, that I can always rely on all the new options, and I can always rely on when a customer or when an event is starting, that there is always a possibility how to create great project, because there will be a function which supports us in this case.
Yeah, I can't double click on this. I really underlying one of this. Being part of the DVA ecosystem, that's actually what we do.
Yeah.
We have almost 500 partners. We're working with them on a daily basis and always have the focus on the customer. We're always trying to solve workflow problems user problems, and always partner up with the great industry that we're all working in. I think that's it from our side. If there are no question left in the chat, as far as I can see, that was Auto-reframe. Yeah, I think we're done. That was fun. Thank you both.
This is awesome.
I really enjoyed it. I hope that I will learn a lot. To be honest, I learned a lot. So thank you for this. I need to do some personal practice, I guess. Thanks for the time, everyone who was watching. Yeah, this was a great event, and hopefully see you soon, and have a good time and a good evening and a good day. Thank you.
And if there is any topic we can help you with, just let us know, because we are
here
supporting and having fun using the apps.
Thanks, everyone.